Tell him about the time we faced them.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel Evolution Show with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroh.
Good to be back, guys. Good to be back. We've got a new banner that just popped up just before the show. For those of you that are watching on video or watching live, we've got our She-Hulk banner. We're going to be talking about that this week. But guys, how are we doing? How are you, Alex? All right?
Great, doing great. Got myself a new Marvel Legends figure, so I'm pretty pumped about that. It's the of course I didn't bring it over here to show, but but it's actually one of the cool ones where it's got like the Iron Man suit instead of Tony Stark's head, it's got the AI like the Valkyrie head.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and you can replace it with the actual Iron Man helmet. So that's kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah. My son's friends got quite a lot, so my son now starts collecting them as well, and they kind of swap bits and pieces. But it's great that they've got all the little bits that you can customize them. And some of the artists that we've actually got, I think we've got a few in the group that do bits and pieces. I know Antonio does some stuff. He's done some stuff with Star Wars ones. They are amazing what people do with those.
I mean, like even like some of the hands are like interchangeable, and they do different things, and there's different little features that you can like pull off and on and like add. So there's always cool little details they add.
I know the hands are interchangeable because I was looking at, I think it was Falcon as, Sam Wilson as Cap the other day, and I was looking at my son was showing to me, he got a new one. I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. You know, I was looking at it, I was like, say it wrong. It wouldn't click what was wrong. And I was like, hold on, he's got two right hands. But yeah, so nice. Good stuff. Jarian, how are you?
Doing well. Kids are back in school, so that's always nice. And my Sanctum Lego set has arrived. That thing is a big one. I have not opened it, and I have so many sets I need to build. It's like
I saw, what did I see the other day? There's like a special edition, a special collection. It was a Millennium Falcon. So I've seen expensive Lego sets before. So over here, you know, the Death Star for a couple of £100 and the Millennium Falcon for sort of £150, £200, something like that. But I saw one, it was £600 for a Millennium Falcon, but it was like the collector's edition or gold edition or the X edition. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it looked amazing, and it was £600. And it was like 7,500 pieces or something like that.
Oh.
It was, it looked pretty incredible, and I think it would come up quite big. So I'm not sure how you would display that. Maybe flat onto a wall. That'd look quite cool.
I think people put it in glass coffee tables. So they've taken like the built set and put it in like a glass coffee table, so you can look down on it.
Nice.
And like set that up. So I think it's pretty cool displays, and I'm seeing more and more out there. People are displaying some of these things, whether it's glass cases or they're making like decoration out of them. So there's some pretty cool things out there you can do once you have the set built.
So almost make them as part of your like things, part of your house, your furniture, or your
Home decor. Yeah.
I've been thinking. So behind me, I was thinking a little while ago. Behind me, I've got there's a window. It's not actually a window, but it is a window, but it just goes into another room. And I was thinking, I wonder whether I could partition that so that in between it was a display bit. You know, like people have like ant farms.
Yep.
So you could have like a Lego farm or a Funko farm, maybe.
Funko farm.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, so hi Jamie, how you doing? Jamie's watching, and Zedrunas is watching as well. How we doing, mate? All right, good to see you. And yes, I am Groot. Me too.
Yeah, I am.
So we've got a few bits to do to get through today. We've got news of the week, as always, to go through. We're gonna talk a little bit about I Am Groot. Jarian hasn't seen it, so obviously Jarian's going to be looking at it from the outside, but me and Alex have seen it, and anybody that's seen it could comment. And then obviously we're going to go into a little preview for She-Hulk, as that starts on Thursday evening, a new evening for us for a Marvel show. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I have, by the way, guys, I have watched that little clip that I said I wasn't going to watch, but then I have watched it because I saw the image. I was like scrolling and I saw the image and I was like, oh, I'll just watch it. And if Marvel have released it, you're kind of like, well, it can't be hyper important. But we'll get to that in a moment. So, Jarian, over to you.
So, you know, all the VFX chatter about Marvel's demanding and people getting mad, not happy with them. Well, they may create their own VFX studio in response to worker backlash. So that's something to keep an eye on. Interesting trying to start off from the ground up, almost if they're gonna, I don't know if it's acquiring somebody or if they're gonna try to pull best talent from other places or do something. But it's some chatter that's been happening later this week that they may create their own. So something to keep an eye on.
Someone said that a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? Like someone on our group or our show. I don't know whether it was Jamie. Was it you? Yeah. Yeah. We said about that. It almost made logical sense for him to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll probably try and get some of these people under contract and probably try and lock them in underneath the studio for a while. And yeah,
Yeah. It
Like
might,
Marvel only type, work, not, you can't do anything else. So
yeah.
if they pay him, I mean, they should be able to pay him handsomely enough. I mean, the amount of money that they must be getting in must be horrific. So they can certainly pay them well enough to keep them, loyal as such and ready to work.
Yep.
So yeah, excellent. Good news, hopefully.
So I did talk about how Rosario Dawson, she did say about the Punisher, but now she's backtracking. She first said at C2E 2022 that it's happening with John Bernthal returning, but no, word on her return as Night Nurse. But then later on, she backtracked via Twitter saying, "I can't be trusted. Getting intel from fans during signings is iffy, apparently. My bad. I got excited. Confirmation is key when you're told what you want to hear," which is interesting because I think she got her hand slapped maybe, and she built the beams, maybe got her hand slapped, and now it's tap dancing it back because there are rumors that everyone is returning except for Finn Jones, and there's been mixed rumors about Michael Coulter, but everyone else has been pretty much is returning from all the chatter out there. So something to keep an eye on.
Maybe this was Marvel's little indirect way of also testing the waters to see how excited fans would be over the Punisher coming back.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I kind of think a lot of the time as well, that a lot of these leaks kind of, they sort of leak, Is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? It doesn't matter if it's a leak, does it? Someone can say something to somebody and then they can, like you say, test what the sort of fan reaction is.
Yep. And go ahead.
I was going to say social media is like a great poll for that because, that you talk about like a character on social media and you just so much as even like give a whisper about it possibly being a real thing and then it explodes on the internet. Like they're like, okay, like people want this,
Yeah, it's like an instant feedback loop, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of put something out there and all of a sudden somebody can become a hit overnight. And that's generally speaking about social media is true, and it's even truer in when somebody's already famous, they can pick up more momentum easily. Roxy's there as well. Hi, Roxy. How you doing?
And there's ways they could bring it back in pretty easily, whether it's through Daredevil, whether it's through introducing the committee and through Moon Knight, or, so many ways that they could bring him in. Even having crossing paths with Spectre in the military or something like that. So there's all kinds of ways that they could bring it back in. So when they do, it will be interesting to see how they introduce him back into the fold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have some Secret Invasion news. And if let me see, we have a comment here. So let's put that on here first. I believe controlled leaks happen more often than we realize, which is true because even Iman Vanelli said that Marvel does put sometimes even fake stuff out there too, as well. So I guarantee that this is happening. Probably a controlled leak, and I completely agree with this comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not wrong. Like as we said. Yep.
All right, so some Secret Invasion news pops in the past 24 hours. And if you don't want to hear this, if you're listening back to the replay, skip it right now. Put your earmuffs on. I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1. Amelia Clark's role has been revealed reportedly. She is playing the Skrull Gia, who initially helped with Skrull invasions, but before switching sides. So it's kind of a play on, I believe, that comic book run Meet the Skrulls, where they have that Skrull family they're going through. And they're probably going to tie this into Secret Invasion a little bit and kind of do a play on that because in the screenshots, or I'm sorry, the set leak photos that have been out there, you've seen her interacting with Fury and Talos and that kind of stuff. So, you know, it does sound like she probably is playing that role where she was helping with the invasions, but you know, because she didn't like what's going on, she switched sides to kind of help with the Skrull resistance, I guess.
Mhm.
So
Maybe she becomes sympathetic towards humanity.
yep. Maybe tired of seeing planets go to crap, or you know, maybe that faction of Skrulls has gone too far for her. So
Mhm.
I'm really interested to see how they play those those factions of Skrulls off against each other actually, and how they be like sort of terrorists, a little bit like in the first Star Trek with Chris Pine, the way that Eric Bana was the Romulans, and they were
Yep.
almost like Romulan separatists.
Mhm.
So it might be a little bit like that. And I like that. I think I've always said I like that kind of political to-ing and fro-ing in any movie, to be honest. So yeah, I'd be interested to see that relationship between those two factions of Skrulls.
and then in other news from Secret Invasion, Samuel Jackson's Instagram basically pretty much confirms that reshoots are done. He has a post basically with hashtag saying Wrap Day. So it sounds like they're all done with the reshoots and probably in full on post production. That way it can debut early next year.
Excellent.
Some Predator news. So Prey. Have y'all seen Prey yet?
No, I haven't seen it,
Mm-mm.
but go ahead.
Okay, so again, this is spoiler if you haven't seen the movie. So 3, 2, 1. There's a pistol in Prey that they show with the camp of the hunters camp. That same pistol is the pistol given to Danny Glover at the end of Predator 2. Same pistol, same inscription on it. Basically, Prey was inspired by a character from the original Predator movie as well. Billy Soul, the half-Sioux warrior played by the late Sonny Landham in the first Predator. So that's what they kind of based this whole Prey movie on. And then Dan Trachtenberg, the director, explained where the idea for Prey came from, revealing how it started with wanting to see more of the Billy character and his backstory. That idea would eventually morph into going back in time to explore a new cast of characters in the Comanche tribe, though it's still spiritually a movie made in honor of Landham and Billy. So that's pretty cool they were able to do that. And if you haven't seen Prey, it's in my opinion, it's the best Predator movie since the original.
Nice.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
another person here, they loved it. So yeah, it's a great film.
That's Roxy.
And I wouldn't mind seeing the young actress who played the main character in the MCU in some role. Hopefully they snatch her up for a role, because
Is she new on the scene?
I believe she's newer on the scene. I'm not really familiar with her, and I think it's her type steering a role. She might have been other things I haven't seen, but yeah, definitely if they can, get her in some role. I think Jason Cutter and I think Alex saw the chat. We were talking about Psylocke. We were talking about even a version of the Ghost Rider, who the Native American Ghost Rider. All kinds of ways they could go with her in the MCU.
Nice.
Oh, here we have one right here. I cannot click today. The actress who played Naru over Prey is my first choice for Thunderbird Warpath for the X-Men.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people would mind if that character's gender was switched, and that's a good one too. I was thinking about that one also, and spot on about the gender switch. And then someone goes, she was in Legion as well. So, there you go. And they said I love the brother too, which the brother was pretty good in that movie also.
Excellent. Thank you, Fred, for that comment, and I think Roxy as well was talking about that. Excellent.
Moving on to Ironheart, a mystical character called Eclipse will appear. That's the rumor with that one. In the comics, she's a mystical character who was part of the 10 Rings. So if we're doing any more 10 Rings ties, well, there you go. If Eclipse shows up. Agatha is also rumored to appear in the series. And then Zoe Tarakis, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, from the movie. She's been in Wentworth, has joined the cast as well. And so with the Hood being the main villain, it does sound like having some of these mystical ties in it will make a lot of sense. And so that's something good to see. And who is this right here? Finally, I've made it to the live chat. Do you see this one?
Let me see if I can find out who that is. Who that is. Put your name on these comments, because sometimes we can pick up comments from wherever they're from. Sometimes we can't. So just put a little sign off on these comments for us. Yeah. Going back to the Agatha in in Ironheart. That feeds in quite well timeline wise, doesn't it? Because Agatha's coming out shortly after Ironheart is released, so obviously that gives us maybe a little bit of a insight into that. Don't get me wrong, I loved Fred popped a agree or disagree on the chat the other day, saying about whether Valkyrie should get her own spin-off show, and it was almost hands down agreed that, you know, a unanimous no, shouldn't get her own thing. Not that people didn't like a character, they did, but it was like, look, we don't need a show at this point. I loved Catherine Hahn and I loved Agatha, but do I want a show about her? I'm not overly bothered, if I'm honest. So I'd quite like a reason to want to watch it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, it's Bridget Guzman.
Bridget, how you doing, Bridget?
Hey, Bridget. So on your comment there, I was probably one of the few yeses to seeing a Valkyrie series, because I want to kind of see what happened in the past with the whole Valkyrie and Hela and all that kind of stuff, and why she left Asgard. But then kind of fast forward to now to her being king, and training new Valkyrie. I think they could tie that in pretty well. And the same thing with an Agatha series. Seeing what other mystical beings she's come across, you know, they could basically make her the surrogate for Jennifer Kale in the MCU, and she could have come across Man-Thing at some point in her history. You know, she's had the Darkhold, so, you know, Ghost Rider at some point. What other beings from the Darkhold had she come across? Chithon. So yeah, maybe depending how they do that show, you know, and who she come across, it could be interesting. It could be that glue for the mystical side of things in the MCU.
She could have even cursed Jack Russell's family with the werewolf curse from the Darkhold. And they could also even go that Noble Kale storyline if they chose to really do that from the comics with Ghost Rider and the Kale lineage and stuff. So,
and a comment here from the group, always wanted more about the battle with Heller, so I guess I'm not alone. I'm going to circle back to a Prey comment that I missed. Basically, love how they tie everything together. Hopefully next one, we see how they got it from the Comanche. It originally belonged to the French fur trader. His name was inscribed. Exactly. I want to see what happens, you know, and there's talk of a sequel. And if the Predators do have that gun, that means that our main character may not have survived in this next sequel. So something definitely to keep an eye on. Miss Marvel news. Adil El Arbi teases Lockjaw for season 2, which Iman Vellani has always said it too as well, that she wants Lockjaw. Basically, Miss Marvel has that big dog. If there's another reason or another season or a movie, the big dog is going to have a big character in it. And I don't know if that's foreshadowing something for the Marvels, maybe, or, you know, for season 2. But we know Lockjaw's Inhumans. We know they changed Miss Marvel to being a mutant. They could always make Lockjaw just a cosmic being instead of an Inhuman, and still have all the same powers and include him that way. So, like maybe Lockjaw is the one who teleported Carol and
maybe,
and Kamala at the end in that end credits that season end credits scene. So
yeah, that could be a possibility. They could write that in, couldn't they? Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he could even still be with Inhumans at some point and just be a cosmic being, you know, like he just doesn't have to be linked to them at all.
Exactly. Moving on to Echo news. Set photos show Kingpin is back in his iconic white suit. Also show now no damage from the shot he reportedly or supposedly took from Echo in the Hawkeye finale. Now we just saw the blast. It was off screen, you know, who knows what happened, but yeah, basically no damage, and he's back in that iconic white suit in the Echo series.
We've seen that millions of times in film, you know, where you see the gunshot off screen, nothing shot at somebody. She could have shot the floor, she could have shot beside his head, over his head.
Warning shot.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah, so you see that quite often, don't you? So I should imagine that'll all be explained away in that show.
Circling back to the Marvels, comment here, seems like they're making Inhumans non-existent, which they possibly could be, or could be saving them for down the road. Who knows? And then another person agrees with you about maybe they shot at him.
Yeah. Or shot, but not at him. So that's RMC. I'm saying, so do you think she might have shot somebody else?
Yeah.
Maybe there was somebody else there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
She shot somebody different. Yeah.
Moving on to Blade, Black Panther costume designer Ruth E. Carter joins the production for Blade. So something interesting there. Some, probably we'll see some really nice costumes from all the stuff that we saw in Black Panther and in Wakanda. So hopefully she'll bring some more cool costumes to the screen.
Cool.
The favorite topic lately, Thor: Love and Thunder. So Brett Goldstein did an interview. They talked about his casting experience. He didn't know what it was for. He was told that some other people would like to have a Zoom with you. I met with them, and it was so surreal because it was literally out of the blue one night, and I was very busy, and it was like, "Can you make a time for a Zoom?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And they go on Zoom. They just told me what you see in the film, what is sort of open with. So Russell Crowe is Zeus, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, go on," and blah blah blah. And then they turn around and they reveal it's Hercules, it's you. And I went, "What? Just like that? Are you serious? Are you effing with me? Is this a wind up?" So yeah, it was surprising to me, as I think it's been to other people. Then when he spoke to Taika, he said, "I'm basically like a skinny comedian." I said, "When this is filming?" It was like in 2 weeks, and I was like, "I mean, I'll do my best, but 2 weeks feels." I said, "He doesn't have to be as big as Thor, does he?" And look, on the day, I mean, I'm doing 400 push-ups that day. I was fit to explode. I did the best I could on that, but yeah, I think he looked great as Hercules in that role. And then he talked about reactions in his future, and he said, "It would be a real bummer if people weren't interested. Okay, of course I care. I have to say I was surprised and delighted, as in it seemed to get a real positive response, and that it's amazing. I'm not in charge of what they're doing or what they want to do, and in a way, that was an experience that I hadn't had for a long time, where I had no involvement in the behind the scenes of it. Look, you're effing in good hands. They make really good stuff. You know what I mean? And Taika's effing brilliant. So it was like, I'm in the best hands possible, but it's amazing. Who knows if anything will come of it? Who knows? But it was a fun thing to do. And I'm pleased that people seem to have enjoyed it. I'm going to eat 30 chickens a day from now on. It'll be fine." So what's funny about this is that Taika is not the one who put this in the film. Marvel put this in the film as the end credits. He didn't even know until he saw the film. So I definitely think Marvel has plans for him as Hercules in the future, and it's probably a clue into what the next Thor movie is going to be.
Yeah. RMC's just said there, like 2 weeks is nowhere near long enough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Another one did an amazing job as well.
yeah, he's obviously got some size about him in the first place. But yeah, like you said, what is it? I read a book. I got a book by a guy called can't remember his surname now, but Vince, someone or other. But he's trained Hugh Jackman and all sorts of people. And he said he trained a lot of the guys for 300, and they used to say, "Is this a push-up scene?" It wasn't in 300. It wasn't in 300. It was in something else. I can't remember who it was now, but they used to say, I think it might have been Gerard Butler, but for something different. And they said, "Is this a push-up scene?" Meaning, do you need to give like 50 push-ups before you do this scene? I.e., are you going to be with your shirt off? So yeah, like he says, he's just sort of smashed out like 100 pull-ups and just push-ups and just got on screen. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do with Hercules, if they do anything with him, or if this is just another one of those kind of like small little loose ends.
I think it seemed like a battle of the gods in Hercules versus Thor. The next one I think will be a great way to to start the new arc with Thor in the MCU and bring Hercules in.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question here. Since I mentioned Black Panther, what do you guys think it's going to? Who do you guys think is going to be the new Black Panther? And all odds are probably on Shuri being it. I thought Nakia for a while, but I think my theory about the mother thing that she might not be interested because of that happens. And Baku's a good choice. Honestly, it probably will be by committee. But it'll be interesting to see how they do it in the film and how they address passing that mantle on. What do you guys think,
Alex?
I think Shuri is probably going to be the best bet, but I really like M'Baku. I would choose him, but as the second choice. But yeah, I mean, those are probably my first couple of choices.
Yeah, I think who do I want is different. Who I think it'll be. I think it'll probably be Shuri.
Mm-hmm.
He's too early for who I'd want, but I'd want to see T'Challa back in there, whether it's a multiversal T'Challa or even if it's not even T'Challa, but even if it's another, prince / king of Wakanda to be the Black Panther.
the year?
Yeah. whether they've got time for that, I don't know. You know, it's a long way down the line. You know, he's going to need to be at least 18, 19, isn't he? The child, if there is a child. But yeah, so I think it will be Shuri.
So we have Shuri from the group. I posted that one, and also an M'Baku. So yeah, probably most likely M'Baku or Shuri at this point. So
yeah.
Before I get to the Hulk stuff and Daredevil, because that ties into She-Hulk stuff, Madam Web. So there's been some Madam Web news out there, and if you don't want to be spoiled, you have 3, 2, 1 earmuffs. Okay, so it seems like it's been appeared or reported that the cast characters matched up, or the actors matched up with their cast characters. So here we go. Dakota Johnson is Cassandra Webb. Sydney Sweeney is Julia Carpenter. Celeste O'Connor is Maddie Franklin. Isabel Merced is Anya Corazon. Adam Scott is playing Ben Parker. Emma Roberts is playing Mary Parker. And here's the kicker. Reportedly, Baby Peter Parker will be in the film. And basically the way they're going to do it is that Mary Parker will be pregnant with him during the film. So it almost sounds like Madam Web could be a prequel to the original Spider-Man trilogy, where they're trying to protect the Web of Life type thing, whatever they call it. I can't remember what it's called. But what will be a kicker here is, think about Spider-Man freshman year, where they're changing up to have characters in it that are not in the MCU that deal with his origin. What if this baby is Tom Holland Spider-Man, and it's a way for them to bridge the Sony Spider-Man universe and the MCU?
Yes,
that's my thinking. So
like having 2 Spider-Man timelines almost happening that we both know about at the same time. And
yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I just don't have any trust in what they're doing.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I just kind of go, oh, come on, like, can we just get over this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll be silenced when I see it. But, you know, nothing that's happened so far has kind of proved that, you know, Morbius and the Venom movies were entertaining, but I don't know. Yeah.
And then, what was I going to say? Also, too, set photos did show that the New York scenes are kind of similar to the same New York that Tobey Maguire filled in for his Spider-Man movie. So maybe it is Tobey Maguire, but I think it'll be a M. Night Shyamalan twist if it was Tom Holland's Parker for that one. And some more comments here. They don't trust Sony either. Speaking of Sony movies, Aaron Taylor Johnson did do an interview about being in Bullet Train. And during that interview, one thing he did let out, saying that he was almost cast in Deadpool 2. So
interesting. Do you think he would have been a character that was in Deadpool 2? Or do you think he would have been a different character in Deadpool 2?
I wonder if he made some like some of the X-Force, like Shatterstar or even Vanisher or something like that. It'd be interesting to see who he would have been. So, but yeah. Maybe an X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe Quicksilver. Funny with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so disappointed that he's playing Kraven. If I'm honest, not disappointed that he's playing Kraven. I'm disappointed.
But is he?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. But I'm disappointed that he's playing Kraven, or supposedly playing Kraven, in a Sony Kraven movie, if I'm honest. Because I kind of just, like I said again, I just feel like it's just a waste. He's quality. I love him. I think he's brilliant. And I just like, come on. Stop wasting everyone's time and just get on with this.
The direction of that movie seems to be kind of odd, I think, for the Kraven, for what we've kind of heard rumored and talked about like in the past. So
yeah, worrying.
So everything else is She-Hulk news. So you ready to talk about that, or do you want to talk about I Am Groot real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about I Am Groot real quick. Yeah, so obviously you haven't seen it, Jorin, but me and Alex have seen it. I mean, I don't know what Alex thought about it, but I thought it was really quite entertaining. It was fun. I mean, it only took 35 minutes, I suppose, from the moment you kind of turn it on to the moment it finishes. And I just thought it was just a good little bit of fun. I was smiling the whole way through it. He was just hilarious, and you know, even though he only says I am Groot, you get all of the emotions that he's feeling. And
Mhm.
yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Each little story was had a nice little theme running through it, and there was morals involved, and yeah, I've thoroughly entertained for half an hour.
It kind of reminded me. So back in the day, there used to be these like little short like Pokemon videos of where like the Pokemon would go out and wander and have their own little adventure, and then they would never like be around their trainers, and then eventually at the end they would wander back to their trainers, and like they would go through these like traumatic experiences, like losing one of the other Pokemon or something like that. So it kind of reminded me of that. And I love the second episode with the little creatures where he's like, "Oh, they like leaves. Like, I'll go get leaves," and he comes back and he steps in the hole that they're in, and he's like, "Oh no." Um, but yeah, that was funny. And the ending episode, the final episode with Rocket, I thought that one was kind of sweet. Like, I was kind of a little bit iffy on some of those, but that one was a really like kind of heartwarming episode.
Yeah, it was. It was nice. It was nice the way he sort of recognizes he might be angry with them, especially as obviously what we've just seen. He's angry with them because he's a teenager, and teenagers sort of don't like anything, do they? But they are his family, and he's very he's very attached to his family. But yeah, I thought I thought seeing him, he was like learning, wasn't he? He was learning and growing up, I guess, throughout all the episodes. He was learning, that actually these little things were actually quite nice to him if he could do the right thing. And it was like a coming of age in 30 minutes.
I think one of the funniest parts in that whole thing is when Rocket starts to get sucked out into space or whatever, and he starts screaming, "Groot, Groot, Groot!" And Groot just reaches in and grabs him and pulls him right back up. Because it's like even Groot as a little baby still saves Rocket in that moment, and he's just
Yeah.
wandering about doing his own little thing.
Yeah, that was great as well. Because when I first heard that Bradley Cooper was going to reprise the role of Rocket, I was like, and then when you see it originally, you just see him sleeping and he's snoring, and I was like, oh, is that what they meant? He's just going to be snoring, because
Yeah.
they didn't Natalie Portman do like an audio for Endgame, but it was just audio. She didn't record any new scenes. She just did an audio of like her snoring or something like that. And I thought, oh, maybe they was going to do the same again with Bradley Cooper. But they obviously then not a couple of minutes, about a minute later, he comes in and actually has some lines. And yeah, that was quite funny.
And they even had Drax briefly in the I Am Groot
Yeah.
special too, but it was just him like taking a shower and Groot stealing his soap, which was kind of funny, like.
Yeah, the dance battle as well. Someone's just said the dance battle was brilliant. And this is going to be, I was RMC saying about it, the fact that he missed it. And that, the announcement that they would be short, and was thinking it was going to be a 30-minute special. I was upset for about an hour when I realized I missed a pretty important fact.
Because what were they like a few minutes a piece episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I think with the credits, they're like maybe 5 with the credits tops.
So maybe the whole thing's like 30 minutes then,
yeah,
right? All of them together. Yeah, because I saw the timeline. It's after Guardians 1 and between Guardians 2, but then there's like 1 or 2 that's supposed to be after Guardians 2, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
I have to find the timeline. Disney has it, so
potentially, yeah. I mean, the first one is set before Guardians 2 for sure. And when you watch it, you'll understand why you know that for sure. And then the last one, I don't know, any of them could be set after that. They could be set at any point, like I say, between Guardians 2 and after Guardians 2, but before Infinity War. I must say though, I'd quite like to see sort of one every week almost. Don't just do one every week, or like before, or they could be the short before a movie. But we've said this before about
before She-Hulk.
well, yeah, why
No, no.
not? Yeah, but we've said this before about end credits scenes, haven't we? That it could almost be a sort of an isolated sort of little small story. And do you remember Pixar did them, didn't they? They used to show the shorts before the movie, so it was they used to be quite long comparatively to I Am Groot. They would be like 9 or 10 minutes long, wouldn't they? But they were fantastic. And you'd go into the movie, you'd go to the cinema to watch a new Pixar movie, and you got a little story at the beginning, and then you had the actual movie. I quite like that. I thought that was a really good idea, and I'd quite like to see this. I'd quite like to see that on a regular basis.
Here's a funny comment here. I'm too much of a greedy glutton. I want constant content. LOL. Yeah,
You're gonna get it.
don't we all?
You're gonna get it though soon. It's gonna be non-stop. Like, well, pretty much as of this week, I think it's gonna be non-stop for the next 3 years.
I will say that in I Am Groot, I thought a interesting end credit scene was that one where they have like the piece of paper that he made just floating out in space. I thought that was a really interesting end credit scene for them to include. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just kind of
Why?
strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I'm like, is like Adam Warlock gonna be just flying through there and be like, oh, now this is who I'm looking for, like
Can you,
right here.
can you imagine if they introduced Adam Warlock in an end credit scene of a 5-minute I Am Groot special? We're just like, who's that guy? Yeah, that was good. Foreshadowing the Guardians floating out off into space.
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah, something definitely off to watch with my kids here. Maybe tonight or this week after school or something.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to watch. It's like I said, you can watch it in half an hour, and they are fun. Like I couldn't help but smile throughout the whole lot of them. So yeah, get them on there. And Marvel, if you're listening, I'd like to see more. I just enjoyed it. It was just fun.
The one with the salsa, I wasn't a big fan of until I realized he was walking over the creature to the airlock, and then he puts it in the airlock and then just ejects it, and I was like, all right, boom, I love this. This is awesome. Like
The way that he says "I am Groot," it's just brilliant. It's "I am Groot." Yeah, it's great. Yeah, he loves it because he looks at him with a great time. He's like, nope, just turns off and walks away.
A
Brilliant.
comment here from the chat. I can watch him for hours. LOL.
Yeah. I felt like that as well. I could have watched him for hours. And I tell you what else I like. I really like. I think I said this last week in top movies, and I said I like Wally. And anything that can keep your attention when there's no dialogue, he's genius in my opinion. And I mean, let's face it, there's no dialogue in I Am Groot. It's 3 words. So apart from obviously Rocket, but there's no dialogue in it, and it kept your attention. I mean, granted, it was only for 4 minutes, but still, it kept your attention. So, I love what you did to the bird. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, fun. A fun little sort of interlude in between, serious projects. Or I'm not saying Love and Thunder was serious, and I'm not saying She-Hulk's going to be serious, but you get what I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah, didn't really mean much in the scheme of things.
lighter mood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. But yeah, so fun watch. Hold on, what's RMC saying there? That's also why I was upset. Groot is great and I wanted more. Yeah.
Hey, that's the thing though. Always leave wanting more.
Exactly. Right, Jorin, so go back to the news and let's go to our She-Hulk, Daredevil, Hulk news, and then we can flow straight into our She-Hulk preview.
So, rumor about Hulk distribution rights. Disney may regain theatrical distribution rights on Hulk films in 2023, and the reason why this comes from distribution term. So parts of their deal, whatever, with Paramount. Paramount shall have the right to exercise its Paramount distribution's right with respect to each picture for an initial period of 15 years, commencing on the initial theatrical exhibition of such picture. So the initial distribution term. Incredible Hulk was released in 2008, which means sometime in 2023, those rights can revert back to Marvel Studios. So what that means is, with the rumored World War Hulk film, that could be a late 2023 or 2024 release, which has been rumored that She-Hulk will set this movie up.
Yeah, I actually think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get a World War Hulk film. It's been more and more likely since we've been going on this, up to this point until we see She-Hulk. And as we spoke about it the other week, didn't we? Actually, a couple of months ago, about whether the Hulk was nerfed, and he definitely 100% is. And everyone kind of likes him, but everyone's sort of disappointed at the same time. And I think, as we were saying earlier, Alex, they listen. They do this. They must listen, and they must have had their hands tied. There's no way they would have done things with the Hulk, or they wouldn't have done things with the Hulk if they didn't have their hands tied.
Well, but the Russos admit they know what to do with them in Endgame and Infinity War too. So at times, I wonder if that their hands being tied had to do, impacted. It made them say, "What do we do?" Because we're restricted. That could have directly impacted Endgame and Infinity War.
And maybe their hands, sorry, 1 second, Alex. Maybe their hands were tied not just from legal perspective, but almost Marvel was saying, look, we don't want to do this, this, and this yet because we can't. So we're going to wait until then, and we're going to do it then. So you're not allowed to do that with him until, do you know what I mean? Like nobody's allowed to do that with him until the end of 2022 because we can't do anything until, like you said, Joe, 2023.
And if you take like the Infinity War trailer, it had Hulk running across the battlefield at one point.
Yep.
That was kind of like, a little bit different than what we saw. Like I remember a large part of that movie in Wakanda and Infinity War, it was like Hulk fighting Cole Obsidian, just like off by himself. It almost seemed like for a large part of his little fight, in the Iron Man Hulkbuster armor, but it was just Bruce Banner in that armor. And so maybe that was their attempt of, they didn't really know what to do with him. They put it in the trailer. Then they were like, all right, we'll just put Bruce Banner in the armor. And,
Well, because there was that one thing of him busting out of the armor too, right?
Yeah.
That was rumored, and then they had the Funko Pop. So
that would have been amazing. I still, that would have been so cool, wouldn't it? If you would have just seen all of a sudden bits of the Hulkbuster just popping off, and then all of a sudden Hulk just bursts out. That would have looked incredible.
Yeah, and I guess like maybe Hulk didn't feel like his life was threatened at that point enough yet to just rip out of there, but like it seemed like in that movie, Bruce Banner kind of was like, screaming like, help me, Hulk, help me. And, Hulk was just kind of like, nah, I'm good. Not right.
you got this.
Yeah, you got this.
I wonder whether we're going to, whether we see some sort of, like some sort of soft reboot on Hulk from the end of She-Hulk. Do you know what I mean? Like we kind of start again with him, with the little, we'll talk about this again in a minute maybe, but with the little clip that we saw and the reason for the car crash that causes the blood to mix, blah, blah, blah. There's obviously ties back there to Sakaar. So, could we see him go back for some reason? A son, for example.
Yep. Scar's rumored.
Yeah.
So the next bit of news, Tatiana Maslany working with Ruffalo. He was laying down on the ground outside as Bruce, and then he got up as Hulk, like truly from a laying down position, he's suddenly standing. It looked completely inhuman. And I was like, oh, so that is what 10 years of playing this character and physically embodying him and being so inside of him. You get to do cool stuff like that. So, that when he's Hulk, he's in that stop motion or that green screen type suit and all that kind of stuff. So he goes through all the motions. They just do all the green screen and VFX on him. So
it must be so fun to be an actor, to see that, to do those things. Or so weird, not fun, like weird, doing stuff like that. I've seen them, Josh Brolin, and he's got like a stick up his back with a Thanos head on it. And then he's in a funny suit. Like you sort of think actors turn up and they're in their outfits. Like he just turns up and he's in like a gimp suit, basically, with knots on it and a pole up his back.
Yeah, he's like one giant torso in that suit too, because it's like, Thanos is like 8 feet tall basically, and he's like 5 foot something, and he's got this massive chest and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, so, you sort of think it couldn't be weirder, could it? Really, I suppose as a job, even, but I mean, for some of the, Scarlet Witch or Captain Marvel or some of the guys that fly, when they're stuck on those rigs, that must be weird, but it must be even stranger to walk around dressed like that all day. But yeah.
And then Jessica Gao, the showrunner, on why they couldn't use certain characters, including Spider-Man or any Spider-Man related characters. There are a lot of characters from the comics. We wanted a lot of the comics for the characters for fun situations where we could bring in like a character and think of like funny reasons why they would be in legal trouble. But there were a lot of characters that were from the comics that we couldn't use either because of a rights issue, or there were a few times where it was because Marvel, all they would say is that they had other plans, and that's all they would tell us. And then we tried very, very hard to poke and prod and get a little bit more information. Of course, they wouldn't tell us. But I will say the one MCU character that really bumped out a lot of the writers in the room that we couldn't use was Spider-Man and anyone involved around, like in the Spider-Man universe, because we had so many Spider-Man fans in the room.
You know that yeah, it's a bummer that they can't use Spider-Man and the Spider-Man guys. But actually, what that says to me is that there could be sort of just a crazy amount of little cameos in this, and a crazy amount of little drops of characters that we're going to see in the future.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and but then I remember seeing. I haven't read a lot of She-Hulk, if I'm honest. I've read a little bit, but I remember seeing. You know, you're flicking through. You know, you're reading, and there is. You know, she's in the. Again, I can't remember what the law firm's called. It's like a quadruple, 4 names, isn't it? Like,
It's a mouthful.
yeah, I can't remember what it is. But anyway, they're in the law firm, and you know, you're looking at the panel, and you're looking at, you know, Jennifer or She-Hulk and whoever else is, you know, she's having a conversation with. But if you look in the background of the panel, there's loads of other people all over the place, and they're all popping up, and you're like, oh look, there's such and such, and there's, you know, there's this other person, and they just pop up everywhere. So hopefully we'll see that same level of cameos in the show.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder who else is in that Supermax Department of Damage Control prison that could pop up when she goes to visit Blonsky, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Jessica Gao also addressed Sokovia Accords as well. Going on to say, yeah, well, this show will answer the question of whatever happened to the Sokovia Accords. It'll happen later in the season, but you'll get an answer to what actually happened to the Accords. Coming here from the chat. I'm glad they didn't do Spider-Man. I mean, he lost everything. I don't think he'd have time for a funny moment, which is a great point.
Yes, Roxy. Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that. Doesn't mean they couldn't do any kind of like obscure Spider-Man villains or sidekicks or other characters that pop up in Spider-Man though as well.
Talking about obscure Spider-Man references, why is it that only about 3 weeks ago I saw the original, the slightly different version of Nick Fury's speech to Iron Man at the end credits of Iron Man? Have you seen that? When he talks
Radioactive bug bites and
yeah. Why? Literally, that's the first I've ever known about it. Why is that the first I've ever known about it? About 3 weeks ago, I was like, how has this eluded me for 13 years?
I think they originally filmed that, and when they filmed it, they were hoping that Sony would Fox would let them use mutants. And they went to Fox and they said, hey, can we use the word mutants? And Fox was like, no, you can't. And then they were like, okay. So then I guess like they didn't even try to include anything about the radioactive bug bite thing with Sony, because that's an obvious reference to Spider-Man. But yeah.
And I think at the time they had plans to have Spider-Man at that time in Iron Man 1. So
yeah.
That was amazing. I saw that and I was like, I can't believe that this is. I mean, it couldn't have been a month ago that I saw that.
Mm-hmm. I think I shared something like that on the group not too long ago.
It might have been then, and I saw it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it wasn't long ago. Anyway, sorry, Jaren, carry on.
You're fine. They also addressed Jessica Jones as well. This is a choreo who's also involved as one of the showrunners, part of the series. Went on to say, well, let's put it out there. Let's have Thor come visit She-Hulk. I think the person who I think mostly organically fits into the world is in the show. I actually think Jessica Jones would be a good addition. And so there are rumors that she's not in the show, but there's rumors that Jessica Jones will be referenced by Matt Murdock's Daredevil. So,
I mean, Alias Investigations, if they continue with that in, the MCU, they could very well tie that in somewhere.
Yeah.
And then go ahead. You have something to say, Andy?
No.
Okay. And then speaking of Daredevil, Jessica Gao went on to address Daredevil in the series. So the Disney Plus of Daredevil will be on the lighter side. Going on to say, well, first of all, we're shocked that we were able to use him. Like when we first heard that he was on the table, I mean, we couldn't believe it. We kept thinking, okay, at some point, someone's going to say, just kidding. Like it's a cruel joke and you can't actually have him. And it just kept going and kept going. And Charlie is so wonderful. He's so game to do whatever. And he's such a wonderful actor and a wonderful human being. What was so fun about bringing him and Daredevil into our world is that people have already seen a Daredevil who is very dramatic, a little bit on the heavy side, very dark and brooding. And it was so fun to be able to do, and we do this with every character cameo from the MCU, is we take them from the environment that from then, which is much more dramatic and action oriented, much more on the serious side, and bring them into the world. They get to play in the tone of She-Hulk, and they get to explore what we get to see on the lighter side of that character. So on Daredevil's debut in She-Hulk.
I think that there's three things actually going on. The first thing is that she's mentioned all of the cameos, quote unquote, all of the cameos, so that there could be more cameos, which is interesting. I think I said before a couple of weeks ago that I've just accepted the fact that what we're going to get is just a lighter toned, just across the board. I've stopped kind of hoping that we're going to get another Daredevil-esque program feel. I mean that as in the feel of the Netflix shows, not character necessarily. And then if it happens great, but I'm not expecting that anymore. Even when they go, oh, we're going to be darker like they were in Moon Knight, or like they said about Moon Knight, it's a different version of dark. It's not what we saw in those Netflix shows.
Yep.
But also then on the other side of that coin, could she mean lighter side, like bringing it into She-Hulk, because the whole program itself looks like it's going to be quite jovial, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's our comment here from the group. So
yeah, and see, I think that like some of those Netflix episodes with Charlie Cox, they were so dark. Like there's one scene where he literally says to one guy who has what is her name, Rosario Dawson's character, Night Nurse. He's like, drop that, or I promise you'll never ever hold anything in that hand ever again. And the guy like doesn't drop it, and then he literally like just breaks his arm into like 15 different pieces. And it's like, I don't think we'll see that kind of Daredevil probably in this show, but like it's such a great way to introduce Daredevil, I think, in the MCU, like for a little bit longer than what we saw in the most recent Spider-Man, because we only got a glimpse of him, and we deserve so much more. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a great way. It makes complete sense. Same. Where is she, by the way? Where is she living? Where is it set?
I thought it was in New York.
yeah, I thought so too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. That's what I'm just asking. Yeah, it probably is. I mean, I'm just trying to, tie in Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
If it
Yeah.
is, I just don't know. So
Maybe he wanders over from Hell's Kitchen to help out with something,
yeah.
And then so coming here from the group, from the chat here, I agree with that, Andy. I want to be more. I want it, but no, we won't get it. Moon Knight was the tell, which, like I said, Moon Knight I thought was fine. And you can do things and so forth without having to go that full on darker tone. I think there'll be a balance in there. Especially now that Marvel or Disney Plus does have parental controls, they could, tiptoe more darker if they wanted to.
I think the key there is like Moon Knight takes that jackal and he like impales it over that thing. But like the key is almost like violence is allowed like almost on creatures but not on people, I think is kind of what their kind of mindset is. So they kind of dial it back when it comes to like people.
Mm.
And speaking of cameos, we might get Shang-Chi from the group here, Shang-Chi, and so we know we're getting Wong, we know we're getting Blonsky, we know we're getting Daredevil. We might get Jessica Jones, we'll see.
And I tell you what, talking about those cameos as well there, Joe, and I just watched one of the little clips, and they use the names, don't they? I don't know if you've seen the promo video from Marvel Studios, and they it's almost like She-Hulk, Hulk, Wong, Abomination. Like they're actually using their names in the promo material, which kind of suggests that they're not just going to be little side characters; they're actually going to be, in the show legitimately for a decent amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex, on your comment about the whole thing with the jackal and creatures versus humans violence, I'm watching for things like that. Alex have been so.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all the news I have. So we can get into our preview discussion now. So
it's been good because we kind of previewed it anyway, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So we can just continue talking about it for a minute. But I mean, is there anything that we haven't covered that you guys are expecting to see?
So let's start out with the whole ship that we saw in the latest trailer. It does look like a similar ship to the Grandmaster's leisure vessel that has no weapons, but this one does. So it almost wonder if the Grandmaster gets back in control of Sakaar, or if it's Scar baby mama coming back to collect on Hulk / Banner,
Mhm.
or is it Scar himself coming to after Hulk? So for him leaving him.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hope that that's what it is, and you can bypass the time problem because obviously time passes differently on Sakaar. They say that
Yep.
literally in Ragnarok, don't they? So it could have been 20 years since the Hulk's been gone. So that's not a problem, I don't think. But I mean, I'd like to see Sakaar. Yeah, definitely. Or
Also,
some reason for him to go back. Some reason for Bruce to have to go back to Sakaar.
and maybe Werewolf Hulk ends up being on Sakaar.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, but think about this too. Remember what Hulk or where Banner said to Natasha in Ultron in Barton's at the Barton house about when they talk about children and babies and how she let him know what happened in the Red Room, and he's like, I physically can't. So if he can see the child as Hulk, that child could grow differently as well because of that also. So whether it's the time on Sakaar or just a Hulk offspring, that could actually grow differently. Like you ever seen the movie V or that TV series V, the series back in the 80s when they had the mixed child of human and V, where she went from like a little girl to adult like in 3 episodes, whatever. And how she just grew. The same thing, and that I'm just using that as like an example. The same thing could happen with a Hulk offspring in Scar.
Yeah. Yeah. Faster growth. Yeah.
So a couple of comments here. Will She-Hulk be as promiscuous as she is in the comics? Will she carry one of her dates like a baby? Or we see her carry. Yeah. So it does sound like she will be dating. They even have a new promo where I think one of the dating apps that she's on now, and they show her dating profile. So definitely think they will lean into that a little bit in the series.
Mhm. I also think it's really interesting too. You see in this trailer, Bruce has his arm in the sling and that little like shot of them in the car, and then it also shows in the flashbacks that his arm's fixed as Hulk. So I'm guessing maybe he fixes his arm while he's helping her fix her transformations. Maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure about that, but
No, that's what I reckon, mate. I reckon you're right. I reckon.
yeah.
And then another comment here. I think Grandmaster by the ship. I remember the Thor short where he made it to Earth. Grandmaster takes him to Sakaar, and then we see Scar and get Werewolf Hulk, which could happen, by the end of this, because they said that something's going to happen in this series. Is the rumor that's going to lead into Werewolf Hulk? So is that going to be the Grandmaster doing something, saying, "Hey, your child's in danger"? Do him and his cousin get into it that causes it? Because it sounds like we're going to get both of them in Werewolf Hulk. Plus Scar. I can't even talk right now. Plus Scar. So it's interesting to see how this series ends. Is it going to be like an end credit scene, or are we actually going to see something? Because it almost sounds like parts of that ship scene that we saw is kind of a flashback, and then their training is kind of a flashback, and then kind of a fast forward to her kind of embracing the She-Hulk.
Sorry, and when's D? Sorry, Alex. 1 second. When's D23, Joe?
September, like mid to end of September. I think it's like September 23rd or something like that. I can look it up real quick.
Go on, Alex.
I was just gonna say, I really hope that they would bring Jeff Goldblum back for anything on Sakaar. That is a must. Like they have to bring Jeff Goldblum back for the
Yes.
Grandmaster. Missed
Yeah.
opportunity if they don't.
And by the sounds of what everyone's saying about cameos, it sounds like we could get it. And I think it's a good opportunity to do it as well with all these little cameos in a show that does seem a little bit less serious in tone. Because we might not question why they're turning up. We might just go, oh, good, there's that person. If it's really serious, everyone's going, hold on, well, why are they there? Well, who cares why they're there? This is just fun. Like, let them be there.
And I mean, the show's breaking the fourth wall too. So I mean, it's kind of like a very questioning, like fourth wall questioning show.
You could almost turn around and go, why is he here? Like looking at us.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was just trying to figure out when this show would finish in relation to when D23 is, but I think we'll only be about 6 episodes in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think we'll only be 6 episodes in. But maybe if something happens by the time that happens, and then maybe at D23 they would announce a couple more movies on that list of Phase 6 that we saw. Those empty slots. So maybe they didn't want to announce those movies because there maybe is a World War Hulk movie in there, or a Planet Hulk movie first. Maybe there's two Hulk movies coming up, Planet Hulk and World War Hulk. That would make kind of more sense, I guess, wouldn't it?
So September 9th it starts off. D23 does. So less than a month away.
Oh, okay, maybe not then, because there's only time for 4 episodes before D23. I was just trying to play out a timeline in my head, like a real life timeline, as to whether we could get a lot of She-Hulk before we got to there.
So comment here. That's why I'm looking forward to She-Hulk. Less serious tone. Just going to be mostly fun is another comment from the chat as well.
Yeah, I think it is going to be fun, and I think you can switch off to the fact that you have to worry about everything making sense. And it's like, actually, I mean, if you've read the She-Hulk comics, they kind of don't make sense anyway. They do make sense, but they're a little bit more relaxed, aren't they? Especially the newer stuff.
Even the cartoon.
Yeah, I've not seen the cartoon, but
Disney Plus, the cartoon's out there.
Yeah, it's time.
Well.
I know. So other stuff, speaking of people out there, Wrecking Crew. So it does seem like Wrecking Crew is going to be teased. Do we think this is going to be an origin story or what? Because at first it looks like they're not powered or anything. They're just construction dudes. So I wonder if this will be an origin story for the Wrecking Crew.
Didn't they get their powers from like an enchanted crowbar or something like that? And I mean, we just kind of saw like Thor enchant a bunch of things for kids in Love and Thunder. So I mean, like, it's kind of similar in that regard. Like, maybe there's something else enchanted, like a crowbar for some reason, and they find it. Boom.
Yeah, maybe.
Long shot.
those 4 people in that scene, they've got some sort of enchanted things, haven't they, or some sort of magical items that they're holding. I wonder whether, they could be. They had purple glow about them.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder whether they could be tied to the clandestines, and they had sort of purpley glowing things. Do you know? I'm just trying to spitballing, really, to be honest.
What we saw in that Avengers movie where I think it was an Avengers movie, Happy's talking about taking out like Thor's belt out of the property and stuff like that. So we know that there are enchanted probably items and
magic belt,
the things, on Earth. So maybe they broke into an Avengers compound, even got them, and
well, we saw and we saw in oh god, what was the movie where Hawkeye? We saw in Hawkeye that there was underground auctions going on for items that were picked up from Avengers combat. That was Homecoming, but Far From Home. Homecoming.
Homecoming was when they were stealing all of it in the explosion, and then Hawkeye, they had the auctions. Yeah,
and actually, Damage Control were in charge originally, weren't they, of trying to get back the tech that Vulture had. And Damage Control, we will likely see them in She-Hulk. We've seen that Damage Control so and to answer Tim's question from the group the other day when he said about the connectivity. Literally what we've just been talking about there for the last minute or so has just been, hold on, we've included Homecoming, we've included Hawkeye, we've included Miss Marvel. We're looking at all these other things coming together.
Ultron. Not Ultron, Civil War, because the Accords are going to be coming back in this as well. So Tim, if you're listening to this, well done, because there you go. This is exactly what we're talking about now, the connectivity bill. So a question here from the chat: will we ever get Heroes for Sale? Which I think they mean Heroes for Hire, which that could lead into it, as well. So good question there.
You can't have them forever. You can only have them for a short amount of time.
Yeah,
hire, not for sale.
And then about the belt is in the artifacts, weapons, and dailies coming up. So
nice. Oh, okay. Yeah, because Happy can't pronounce its
the name of it.
Yeah.
So he called it Thor's Magic Belt.
Yeah.
And that's what they meant Heroes for Hire. So other cameos too. So going back to Jennifer Walters' promiscuity. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe Iron Man, Tony Stark, has been the person hooked up with Juggernaut. So we could get an X-Men. We're not getting a Tony Stark reference in this thing. I doubt it. Maybe something in the past, maybe, but I doubt it. Juggernaut. So we could get an X-Men one possibly. Star Fox. She's hooked up with Hercules. And the one who I thought was in the preview, which I was wrong, it wasn't the one she was carrying, Luke Cage as well. So if they want to bring more defenders in, this could be another time to jump off, not to Jessica Jones, but Luke Cage also. At one time, she did hook up with Luke Cage. That's before him and Jessica Jones had a baby and settled down. But there's all kinds of ways they could go with cameos in this also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think for a second when someone said promiscuous, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm thinking here. I know there's more too, but those are the ones I remember. Star Fox is Roxy's favorite. Didn't she also prosecute Star Fox too because of his shady ways?
Yeah, his fair
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, there was rumors that he was sort of active at the moment within what Marvel are doing, when they Harry Styles. They were sort of saying, there was sort of people going, oh, he's signed up to another movie, or he's doing this, he's doing that. Who knows? Maybe he does turn up on Earth. We know that Wong's in it. We know that at the moment that Wong and Bruce are looking at these ancient artifacts. It sends out a beacon.
Yep.
Could there be a tie to Eternals as well?
Yep. Could there also be ties to Ten Rings? Because we know that Wong and Abomination were going back and forth between the fighting thing where we saw Black Widows, we saw an extremist person. Who else could they say was in that fighting area that Wong and Abomination came across? And then why is Wong involved when he says the Book of Ashante, in that one trailer? What's Wong doing in this series? Is he helping with Blonsky's rehabilitation, or is something else going on?
Wong's popping up everywhere now.
Yep.
Like,
well, he is Sorcerer Supreme, and there's artifacts, so
yeah, that's true.
Just RMC, your comment. What are they got to tell us? They tell us what comes from. Not quite sure exactly what.
Well, he's referencing the 10 Rings and the beacon.
Oh,
you mentioned.
Okay. Yeah. That'd be interesting. Well, maybe they don't know yet. Anything else you guys are thinking about for the show?
I don't think so. I'm excited to see what they do with Daredevil. I'm curious to see how deep they go in with that character. I almost feel like he's going to be kind of just like helping She-Hulk out and then be kind of like out the door again on like a few episodes later. Like, I don't think he's going to be around for like half the season or.
Yeah, like sort of a 3-episode cameo sort of thing.
Yeah, it kind of helps her out in a bind, and then he's like, all right, now I'm back to go do Daredevil things over here. She's like, okay. So,
do we get hints to any other Hulk characters like Leader or any other Gamma type characters in this series?
I think it'd be really cool to bring back a couple of those guys. Or I do you know what I'd quite like a reference to Betty Ross.
Yep.
mm-hmm. And they teased the Leader, didn't they already in the first Hulk film?
Yep, they did. He was Mr. Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Back to your thing. Origin of the 10 Rings is what RMC was referring to.
Yeah. We got you.
Another comment for the group. Very ready for my favorite street people: Daredevil, Punisher, Alexa, Jessica, and so on. Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Just say go ahead.
No, I mean I think that with William Hurt passing away, and obviously General Ross playing a big part in the Hulk storyline and things like that, it might be a nice way to sort of pay a bit of homage to him by talking about Betty, maybe, or I don't know.
I have a thought on that, what they could do. But real quick, as long as I get Wong and Daredevil, I'll be very happy from the chat comments here. So we know Thunderbolts is coming up, and we know that Red Hulk is a fixture of the Thunderbolts team and some of the lineups. And with William Hurt passing away, and us not seeing Betty since the Incredible Hulk, could they bring Betty back and maybe bring in Red She-Hulk?
That would be awesome.
Will that be a way they could tie that? Because the other way they could do it is, if they want to stay with Red Hulk, they could have the transformation off screen of Ross to Red Hulk and not have him go back and just go that way. But if they wanted to do something else, they could bring Betty into the fold and make her Red She-Hulk because she is in the comics.
Mhm. I like the off-screen transformation for Red Hulk, but I definitely think they need to bring in Red She-Hulk, maybe even down the line. It doesn't have to be anytime soon, but if they do give us Red Hulk, they have to give us Red She-Hulk, but Red She-Hulk will be fine too.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have an interesting comment on that thought. Go ahead, Andy.
yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think that references to those characters certainly that were in Incredible Hulk, because we've seen them tie in what happened, the events of Incredible Hulk in What If, didn't we? With with that What If episode, and that was interesting to see them finally reference back to that, and then obviously with bringing in Abomination back into Shang-Chi and things like that. So they're not completely writing it off. Now, I'm not saying they have to go and get Liv Tyler and correct me the name of
The actor for the leader.
Samuel Stearns. Yeah, who was he?
Mhm.
I feel like I should know his name. But
I know I can picture the actor, yeah, but I can't remember his name.
I liked him. I thought he was good. I thought he'd probably be quite good as the leader. But anyway, point is, I'm not saying they have to go back and get those characters, those actors, but just references back to those things would be quite cool.
I have a casting idea for the leader.
Go on.
The actor from Better Call Saul and Nobody, make him the leader in the MCU.
Oh yeah.
Like Saul Goodman himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob Odenkirk.
Yes,
Bob
yes,
Odenkirk.
yes. I can't remember his name. Make him the leader. I think he could kill that role, especially with the way he talks, everything. Him and Nobody, just his demeanor, that kind of stuff. I think he could pull it off.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I know this is RMC. This has to be RMC right here.
Yeah, it is.
Future looks bright for the Hulk family. Maybe I'll get the inbred Hulks for Wastelanders. LOL.
That was that'd be really good. We need to see that. I'd love to see that. Not for another couple of years though. Anything else on Hulk? On She-Hulk? Sorry.
No, just looking forward to where this ride takes us. So
Yeah. Excellent. Well, unless it looks like we've got Roxy and RMC, the only two people that have stuck with us throughout this slightly extra long episode. But unless you guys have got anything else that you want to bring up super quick before we wrap this one up, then I think we've covered the bases quite well tonight, guys, on all of the news and I Am Groot and She-Hulk. Go on, Jared.
One last thing, for those of you all who listen to us after the recording's done, on your favorite podcast app, please like, subscribe, give us feedback, let us know how we're doing, whether it's Apple or Buzzsprout or Google or wherever you listen to your podcast on. Just make sure to like and subscribe, and please give us reviews.
Yeah, we like a bit of constructive criticism.
Definitely.
Okay, let's put a pin in this one then, boys. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll be back. And that's it now. So the next 9 weeks, we've got some ready-made conversation in She-Hulk episodes. So looking forward to it. Enjoy Thursday, and we'll see you all next weekend. Take care.
Bye.
See you guys.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced
All right. Well, as I remember,
at Avenger headquarters?